One. All right, so here we are back in a pivot lecture. This is a bonus lecture. We're very fortunate today to have a great guest lecturer, Erika Godwin. Say hi, Erika.
Hello.
And Erika is a dear friend of mine, and we worked together for a number of years. She went to Elmira College in upstate New York. It told me a lot about that college. It's an amazing college. I think it was the first college, Erika, ever to offer degrees to women.
That was equal to men, yep.
Equal to men. Yeah, isn't there a song? Isn't there an Elmira song?
There's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
Yep. Another fun fact about Elmira is Mark Twain's wife went to Elmira.
Yes, and there is a building that Mark Twain actually was in, I think, on Elmira's campus.
Yeah, Mark Twain's study.
Yeah, and so the way Erika and I first met was I was looking for somebody who would know and understand marketing as it's done today. And I don't have to, oh, yes, we're recording. Okay, good. Just making sure I didn't forget. So yeah, I was looking for somebody who understood marketing as it's done today. And I realized, you know, as social media was getting going and things were changing, Google, you know, AdWords and so many other things, of course, now Facebook Marketplace and so much more, I realized that I didn't know enough about marketing, and I wanted to find somebody who did. And if you go to people who are my age, you know, they'll tell you, hey, you should have a newspaper ad, put an ad on television, you know, get some radio ads, this sort of thing. And I thought, you know, maybe that marketing approach was dated. You know, when you know, in the early 1990s, Erika, you know, you were just a little girl there, maybe not even born yet, but in the early 1990s, you know, newspapers were incredibly powerful. They had a very powerful voice, and if you wanted to get, you know, in touch with your public, you needed to have some kind of a presence in the classified ads or the display ads. There really wasn't a whole lot of choices. Maybe you had some yellow pages. Do they even have yellow pages anymore, Erika?
I don't know.
Yeah, no.
Maybe.
I'm not sure. So what I did was, I think, Eric, you have a better memory than I do, but I think I just put an ad out there, and Erika came along, and Miss Godwin came along. Something like that.
No, remember I was working for Tom.
Okay.
And he was renting space.
Okay, so I met you through somebody else.
And then you scooped me up.
I did? Oh my God! I wish I hadn't asked. So anyway, so Erika came along, and you know, I have to admit, as a young engineer and then as a middle-aged person, I did not really understand branding and marketing the way that Erika did. I was not even close in terms of competence. And she really has educated me as to the importance of branding. And I think everybody on the call knows that I am completely convinced now that branding is important. And Erika, something that I don't think I ever told you, I did spend some time in Stockholm teaching at Hyper Island. And when I was there, my first lecture, I had, I think, 62 students in the class. And on the first day in the class, I'm standing in front of the class, and I say, okay, everybody, get your laptops out. We're going to do a little bit of work. And so the next thing I know, out of 62 laptops staring at me in the face, 61 of them were MacBook Pros. And I realized your generation, and the kids who are even younger than you, are really, really brand conscious. So if we want to get in touch with people, you know, whether they're younger or middle-aged or older like me, branding is really important. And Erika is the one who first really said, Bruce, we've got to do better in branding, and I know how to do that. And then marketing today is completely different than anything that we would have known in the 1990s. It's so different, and it's changing very fast. And again, Ms. Godwin is certainly in touch with that. And the other thing that I think I started to understand, again, through Erika's tutelage, really, is that branding isn't just a nice thing to have. You know, it is a nice thing to have, okay, but it's not, that by itself is not sufficient. What branding does is it creates immediate trust. So if say Erika and I opened up the best sandwich shop in the world, and it was called the Erika Godwin and Bruce Firestone Sandwich Shop, how many people, Erika, would drive by that shop, even though good pricing, good food, wholesome and everything, and go to Subway 2 blocks away?
Right.
So the
Oh.
difference is that they have a world famous, world renowned brand, not necessarily better food or better pricing, but certainly a better brand. And so branding creates an instant aura of trust, and trust allows you to sell something to people. And you never buy anything from people you don't like and don't trust, or maybe you do it once, but never a second time. So today what we have is a very special presentation, and I'm going to start the sharing my screen. Erika, can you see my screen okay? Can you see the screen okay, Erika? Dave, can you just give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen? Okay, so Erika, I think you have just faded out, so I guess I'll have to wait for Erika's internet to come back. But what we're going to hear today is something that's really, truly remarkable. That Ms. Godwin has started a company called marketing.co, which does, and you'll hear about it, branding and marketing and building really good quality websites for people who are doing things like pet grooming, dog walking, whatever. Erika, have we lost you? I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. Sorry, everybody. I think we have lost Erika. We're going to have to wait for her to come back. So, Greg, why don't you unmute yourself, Greg Ellen, and let me know. Can you hear me okay, Greg?
Yes. Yeah.
So, Armin, I see that you can't hear me. Check that your speakers are on. All right, and sometimes I have to turn my speakers on. I actually have an on-off switch, and I also have, in addition to that, I also have on the computer itself another thing I have to do. And I apologize. I'm going to see if I could get Erika back. So just give me a minute. All right. I apologize, everybody. I'm going to pause the recording. Okay.
It just
right.
shut off, but we're good now. Hopefully
Okay, so I started the recording again just when we, okay, so I'm gonna try and share one more time, Erika. Hopefully your computer won't shut off. Can you see the screen okay, Erika?
There we go.
All right, so again, everybody help me welcome Erika Godwin and marketing.co. Over to you. Oh, one more thing before I turn it over to you, Erika. If anybody has any questions, you guys know what to do. Put it in the chat box, right? And here, and Erika has already said if there's any questions, just put them in the chat box. I'll put my hand up and I'll ask her the questions on your behalf. Erika, over to you.
Cool, awesome. So for those that don't know me, my name is Erika Godwin. I guess my background, I went to school in upstate New York at Elmira College to play hockey and golf. That's where I got into business. At that time, I was young and I just wanted to play sports, but I figured business was a safe bet because there's more opportunity in business than anything else. Once I graduated from Elmira, I moved back to Ottawa. I grew up in a family that was very government, kind of like civil servants, that kind of thing. So I figured that's what I was going to do. But I was surprised when I couldn't get a job with any government. They didn't believe my degree. They wanted me to transition it to a Canadian degree, all of that jazz. And I couldn't get in. So I was working as a server at a restaurant, ended up working for a company that rented space from Bruce. And then that didn't really work out. I ended up switching over, working for Bruce. And then that's when we started Explorium. Well, I guess Bruce started a long time ago, but we kind of expanded on Explorium. That's how I got into the entrepreneurial world. Before that, I didn't really ever cross my mind as a career path or anything like that. I always just figured you go to school, work for the government, and retire. Well, Bruce opened up my eyes.
Are you glad you didn't go into the government?
Oh, I'm so glad I wouldn't.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
I probably would have been fired, but I learned so much because working with these startups, and it's just kind of a whole new world. We did a bunch of different events with the Bootstrap Awards, Tech Links, and It was really, really eye-opening. And then once that, the funding kind of ran out for that, I ended up meeting up with, you might know Andy Moffat. He was an entrepreneur in residence at Invest Ottawa at that time. We were working with him to figure out how we could work with Invest Ottawa and Explorium. But anyway, so once that happened, he said, well, come work with me. And I didn't know what I was going to be doing at that time. So basically I'm like, okay, and moved over, started working with Andy. He said, can you help my wife? So his wife runs Keshe Kennels. That's where we started. That's how I got into the pet industry, which is another totally crazy thing I never expected. So I started helping her with her kennel. We started updating her website, doing some marketing. And then they said, can you help her find software? So at that point, we started researching software. That was how many years? 6.5 years ago, maybe.
Wow.
At that point, there was no software. It was the ones that were out there were very outdated. There was nothing new, nothing that really fit. So that's how ProPet Software started. So I was co-founder of ProPet Software. That's a kennel software. So we build software to run dog kennels, dog daycares, dog groomers, and dog trainers. If you ever take your dog to a kennel in Ottawa, there's a good chance you've used our software. Where we have over 500 clients in 15 countries or something like that. So that's how I got into the pet industry. From there, we, looking at these client websites, they were just horrible. They were outdated. And I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, they need to do better. You're not going to be, like, you're going to be losing a lot of clients. Their branding's horrible. Like, they don't work. And that's kind of when I was like, okay, well, I need to figure out how can we help these people, because my mind runs a mile like crazy. So always come up with new ideas. And that's when I decided to start Barketing Solutions. So at first, Barketing was just a blog company. So I started just doing some blogs about marketing and SEO and that kind of stuff. I started Instagram, where I would send out quotes, post tips, that kind of stuff on Instagram. Then I ended up getting connected with a pet sitting coach. And that's kind of how Barketing took off. And I know that's on another slide, so I can wait until then to get into that. But this here, so this gives you an idea of what the problem that we're solving. Clients with very outdated websites, some of them from they almost look like they're from the 90s, early 2000s. Websites, they really expire. Like, marketing changes so fast, and now it's changing faster and faster. So these websites that were built even 3 years ago, they're outdated. Mobile optimization came around, so a lot of the websites weren't mobile, or they had 2 different mobile websites, which really hurt them because Google is now crawling mobile websites first. So
Wow.
These condensed mobile websites weren't effective because most of the content was on desktop. Google wasn't looking at that one. So it's just a big change. So that's when we kind of came in to help bring these outdated DIY sites. They're cluttered, underperforming, they're not structured properly, to these modern, user-friendly websites that are now lead generators without having to do anything because of the structure behind them.
Erika,
yes.
So I think you told me that your clients are people like dog walkers.
Yes. So
who else are your clients? Like dog walkers, pet stores? I mean, I'm not really 100% clear on that.
Okay, so we don't do the retail. So there's most for Barketing, they're the small pet professionals. So most of them are dog walkers and pet sitters. Then we have some dog trainers, some dog groomers. We have some kennels, daycares. So pretty much anything that's pet related, that's service related. So we don't do the e-commerce that much, but.
Right. So one of the things that for people who are on the call now, you know that Jamie Montero gave the very first Pivot lecture, and Jamie has a mobile pet grooming, I think cat grooming. Would that be somebody who could use Barketing.co?
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect fit. We have clients who have multiple locations or like almost like franchise locations. So with that, it's we're able to create a product that can be easily cloned for each location, so that they have that similar brand across all platforms,
Right.
same website, different content, maybe different photos and that kind of thing to keep the relevant brand. So starting this company, it is definitely something that, I mean, anybody can really do if you put your mind to it. It's and the work, but there's a lot of work. While working full time for ProPet, like I mentioned earlier, that's where we came into the problem that there was nothing out there for these pet sitters. There was another company, but the guy that was running it, he didn't keep it. He didn't really update it. So they started lagging, because that's the thing with websites and marketing is you need to stay on top of the trends. You need to stay on top of the new, Google's new algorithm. That's the wrong for algorithm and all of that. So that's why our plans are really great, because they're built on a platform that keeps updating, that keeps up to date. We stay on top of trends, so we kind of jump ahead and update update our clients and say, here's some advice, this is what we need to do. Send us the content if we need to add a new page. With our platform as well, they can update the website if they want to update the look and feel without having to get a brand new site. So it really helps them in the long run. They don't need to get a new website every couple years or so.
So if I understand the model correctly, if I was a dog walker or a pet groomer, I could get a marketing.co website, and it cost me a certain amount of money per month to do that. And I can update it a little bit on my own. But in addition to that, you told me that just by getting a more professional looking website that is optimized, for Google and other, platforms, including, of course, mobile, that some of your clients, I think, went from earning, some money to earning over $100,000 a year as a dog walker, which when you told me that, I didn't think, was that possible? And you said it is.
Yeah. So the thing is, it helps with more than just attracting new clients, because it also helps you attract employees, those dog walkers. So we've had clients who started with us. It was maybe they had 1 or 2 employees, and now they might have like 10. We have some that have like 40.
Wow.
In some of the larger cities like Charlotte, there's a lot, or LA, New York, like they grow a lot. But having that website that is generating leads, but also giving that branding to help you attract the right employees, because there is a lot of turnover in that industry. Just having everything organized and professional, like, especially because most of the time your competition hasn't updated their website or doesn't have a website. Or
so Erika, would it be fair to say that in some ways that marketing.co isn't, sorry, I got a fly running around here. It wasn't you, just a fly. So would it be true to say that marketing.co is almost like a marketing agency as opposed to just a marketing company? And just so everybody knows who's live on the call now and anybody who's looking at it, I distinguish between a marketing company and a marketing agency this way. Marketing agency understands that in addition to having a great brand and nice business cards and nice logo and nice website, they also understand that they should be, at least in my opinion, be in the lead generation business. And you guys may have noticed already how many times Erika has used that term, that the work that she's doing for her clients is generating leads. Most marketing companies, Erika, still to this day, when they say, oh yes, we're a marketing agency, but when you actually talk to them, they could give you, like I said, a nice logo and some pretty brochures and a pretty website, but that's about it. You go one step further, am I right?
Well, in the sense that, we don't do lead generation in the sense of like social media or ads or that, but we do it in the sense of we structure the website properly so that, one, it gives visitors an easier opportunity to convert to a lead. So you get to the website, it's super simple to find that next step. So we focus on that, and then we focus on optimizing the content for their target audience. So for example, if it's an Ottawa dog walker, we want to make sure that the term Ottawa and dog walker is used on the website appropriately, so that one, when your client comes to the website, they see exactly what they want and where they're servicing. And two, it shows Google, when Google comes to the website, it helps them understand, okay, I know exactly what they do and I know when to serve this content. So we do more because, I mean, a lot of website companies, they just say, okay, send me the content, I'll put it in, but they don't have that extra marketing background to make sure that it's structured properly. Because if you just throw a bunch of content in, that's great, it might look pretty, but it might not convert or it might not rank. So we've done over 120 pet sitting websites now, so we really know what works. So we just make sure that the terms are used properly, the way that Google likes it, but also that's user friendly, so that when client or a potential client comes to the website, it's not like just kind of stuffed in there. It's nice and organic. And
can you comment on that last line on this slide, Erika? You know, I said to Pivoteers that committed monthly recurring revenues, CMRR, or what Erika calls monthly recurring revenues, is kind of the holy grail of business, you know. Barkening.co has done that for you, Erika.
Yep. So the way that our process works is you sign up, and there's an initial cost for the actual website design. So that's when we build the website, and we have different plans for different size of businesses. But all of our clients are required to be on our monthly plan. So I wanted to create a business that had the monthly recurring revenue. I didn't want to just have one and done websites. That's stressful, trying to make sure that you get enough websites, but having that at least monthly recurring revenue, you know that you do have, you have some expected revenue coming in. So basically when we had the first websites, it was good. Everybody pays up front. I was surprised by that, but most people don't have an issue with paying everything up front. So everybody pays up front. We then use that money to purchase anything extra that we needed at the beginning. And then now that we're growing, we have that monthly recurring revenue. So we have that, and if we need to pay employees or anything like that.
So nobody gave you a check for $1 million to start Barkening.co?
Nope, that would just be money from ProPet salary is how it started. It started slow. So I mean, we started with like a small hosting company. We started with like a few templates. The price was a lot less expensive back then. I mean, I probably put in a lot of extra time than what I was making, but to get everything created, to get the process set up and everything like that, I was lucky I didn't need that funding. I didn't need a loan or anything. I was able to bootstrap that and then grow that to revenue. So as I was saying earlier, starting this company, I had the idea, but when I was on Instagram, so I posted a quote about jumping out of an airplane and building the parachute on the way down. And that caught the attention of a pet sitting coach in Scottsdale, Arizona. She reached out to me and says like, oh my God, that is my slogan. So her company was called Jump Consulting. And her slogan was literally that. And she's like, oh my gosh, I love it. Let's talk. So I'm like, okay. So I talked with her and I told her what my idea was. And she's like, oh my God, you have to do it. I have clients, they need websites, they need management. So the difference between our company and like a random website company like everyone else is ongoing. We offer that support. So we have kind of 3 types of ongoing support. We have one that's the basic hosting maintenance. So we make sure everything's up to date. A lot of that's automated, so it's great. And then our higher plans include support. So basically we're their webmaster. If they need any changes to their website, updates, post a blog, anything like that, then we're their team. So they can just send us a message and send in a ticket and we'll update it for them. So when I explained that to her, she's like, you need to do that. I have clients for you. I will send you clients. So when she said that, I put in the time to build it and they came. And that kind of gives you a little bit of confidence when you have someone that has the same clients as you saying, I have people I can send you right now. It was worth the time investment to get it set up. And then finding those first clients. So on top of having the pet sitting coach send me clients, Instagram and Facebook groups were the big one that really helped establish my credibility and bring in some clients. So I did create relationships with industry influencers. Currently, I have relationships with the two biggest U.S. national organizations for pet sitters and dog walkers with their presidents, which is the National Association of Pet Sitters, and there's the Professional Pet Sitters Association. So I have, I'm currently PSI for Pet Sitters International. That's what it's called. I'm going to be doing an article for the magazine, bi-monthly magazine. So that's cool. And then I do webinars and presentations and that kind of stuff for both of those top organizations. So they have like thousands of pet sitters as members. So that's huge. It's all about who you know. Everything that I've done in my life was all about knowing people. So, I mean, building those relationships, whether they're going to give you any kind of immediate like any immediate work at the time, you don't know, but I mean, down the road, you just never know what building those relationships will do for you. So on Instagram and Facebook groups, on Instagram, I posted a lot of information, like valuable information, tips, tricks, and then I started kind of getting a following there. So that helped get started. We had people asking me like, oh, I love your tips. Are you going to provide services? So I started getting that kind of stuff. And then in the Facebook group, so I have a couple Facebook groups. This is how I build my mailing list. So, I mean, niches are the way to go. It's the best thing I've done was probably pick a niche and stick with it.
You know the comment, I'm sure you know this, Erika, the riches are in the niches.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And it's crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, you know, here we have a young person who is a marketing whiz, thought she was going to be a government public servant, like I think your parents were. And instead she becomes a wild, flaming entrepreneur in the pet industry. Who knew? And apparently, you know, people spend more money in North America on their pets than they do on their seniors.
Yeah, I believe it. It's insane. Some of these companies making like $1 million pet sitters. Like it's insane what they make. But yeah, so like on Facebook groups, what I do, and if anybody is thinking about is starting a business in the niches, I started a Facebook group on the niche. So it's Pet Business Marketing Support Group. And anybody who joined the group, one of the questions was ask them for their email address. And that's how I built my emailing list, basically.
Do you mind if I ask how many people are on your email list, Erika?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. Probably over 1,000 on the emailing list. I have over 4,500 on Instagram, which is big. But I mean, that email marketing, it's literally like insane. I don't know, like people say market email is dead, but it's really not.
So I want to just underline what Erika said. I have about 16,000 people in my email list, and everybody says, oh, email marketing, that's so 1990s, but trust me on that, that is not true. When Cyril Leader, Erika, was you know, still president of the Ottawa Senators, he told me that probably the most valuable thing that they owned, you know, as an NHL team, was a 350,000 person email list.
Yeah. And I mean, you're one of the ones that you ingrained that in my head. So always talking about getting an email address, right? So yeah. I mean,
so one of the things I would emphasize to all the entrepreneurs on the call today, we've got about 18 or 19 people with us today, and there's about another 50 or 60 who will watch this, I guess, in the evening or weekend. You know, is build your email list. And it's remarkable to me how many people don't do that. You know, they just respond to an email, but they don't think about creating an email list. It is still probably the most powerful marketing that you can do.
Yep. And like for an example, at the end of 2019, I had a goal that I set for revenue and I was just short of it. I went to my email list and I put out a deal for a website review, and boom, I got like like, I don't even know, like 25 people signed up for it.
Oh.
Like, it's just like, boom, sent it out, done. And like, I mean, obviously for bigger purchases, it might not work like that, but for something small, it was insane how they just purchased it, and I hit my goal. And then again, the Facebook group. So for the Facebook groups, what I also do is that pet sitting coach. So in her groups, whenever she posts about websites, she tags me in it, and that gives a big flow as well. Having that influencer being like, you need a website, she's the best. And then I have a bunch of my clients in that group that say, yes, I second this, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, email marketing and just getting involved in the community, in the niche community, really help.
Can I ask a question? I don't know the answer to this question. That's why I'm asking it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any room on Google Maps? Is there any role, I think is a better way to put it, is there any role for Google Maps to play in marketing.co?
So yes and no. I mean, that's a huge, we were kind of toying with the idea of offering Google My Business support. I do have a partner that Pet Sitter SEO. So she's a partner of mine. She is like a Google My Business whiz. So I usually send clients to her for that. But Google My Business, if you're a local business, it is it's just as important as your website. So I do a lot of like consulting on that. On my higher website plan, I do offer Google My Business setup. But I mean, that along with the website is definitely very important strategy, especially for SEO.
If people don't know what Google My Business is, it is really important.
Mm-hmm.
If you go on Google Maps, which is a different search engine than the main Google search engine. If you go on Google Maps and you put Bruce M. Firestone in, I guess Bruce M. Firestone, maybe Ottawa, Canada in there, up will come quite a bit of information, when the office is open, when it's closed, where it is, email address, phone number, website, and it's a very, very simple thing. It's free to do. And I would strongly encourage every entrepreneur in just about every business, whether you're a pet sitter, a dog walker,
Mm-hmm.
or a real estate investment and business coach, you can go just Google My Business, just put Google My Business in the Google search bar, and it'll come up, and you can register your business, your enterprise, your location, or multiple locations with Google. And what they'll do is they'll send out a postcard to those physical addresses. So they actually use snail mail, and you'll get a snail mail postcard with a privacy security code. You go back onto the Google Maps, and you put that security code in, and that confirms that you actually are at that physical address. And then you become, a verified Google My Business account. And it's incredibly powerful. And I do think that's a very useful thing, not just for pet sitters, but for virtually every business on the planet, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, the big thing about that is it gives you an upper hand on some of the larger companies. So for example, for the pet sitters, you may have heard of Rover or WAG. They're kind of like a tech company. It's like an Airbnb for dog walking and pet sitting. They are not allowed to get a Google My Business because they're not a local company. So it's only for local companies. So this gives the small guys a competitive edge against the larger companies, because so when you search, even if you do a regular Google search, you'll notice that if you search for like a restaurant in Ottawa, you'll see the map and then you'll see 3 listings. So that's the Google My Business. That is actually not even associated with your website. It's part of the Google My Business. So with that, you want to make sure your profile is complete, and reviews and answering reviews is the biggest part of that. So that there is how you can get ahead, because you'll get that ranks ahead of the organic results. Maybe not the ads, but I mean, that's something that's very important. And I highly stress to my clients as well to make sure that they put in the effort to keep that up to date. But how we help our clients, so we do help them position themselves against the WAG and Rover as well on their website. So we want to make sure that it's simple to sign up, because if you go to WAG or Rover, just like you go to Airbnb, it's really easy to book. Some of these websites, they go to your website, they can't find a phone number. I mean, this can be for like any professional services, trades, anything like that. you need to make sure that your clients can get in touch with you easily. Don't make them search for the information. So I really focus on the main call to action. So they come to your website, they see exactly what you do and where you do it, and then they get in touch. So whether you want them to phone, whether you want them to fill out a form, log into your software and book, whatever it is, the focus is on that one call to action. If you put too many, then people start getting confused. So we help with that. We just make sure it's streamlined, super easy for your clients to sign up. So that there helps with the lead generation and conversions, because if it's difficult, they might jump back to Google and just go to your competitor. But if your website's professional, user-friendly, easy to navigate, then they'll likely stick with you. And you want to be able to get in touch with them quickly, because a lot of times they'll just go to every website and whoever gets back to them first, they'll sign up with. So you want to make
sure. Can I ask you a question, Erika?
Yep.
It's a little self-serving, but clients of mine in Kitchener-Waterloo have created a service, and if you don't mind, I'm just going to show it. Mm-hmm. It's called, let's see if it's on my website now. See if I can grab it here. It's on my website. It's called Ping. And I'll just show you what it is. And I was just thinking as you're talking that this might be something to offer some of your users too. So this is my website. Oh, I'm embarrassed it's not showing up. Oops, what happened? Okay, I completely screwed up. Let's see if it's showing up in the other browser. Just give me a second.
Bruce, not secure. What's going on?
What's that?
Your website's not secure.
It is not right now. I don't know what happened. I should, and this is definitely what, okay, I'm embarrassing myself to no end here. But by the way, a professional who's very similar to what you do, you know, is in fact running it. Okay, for some reason it's not showing up on my website. I am definitely never going to do this again. But I will fix it. But coming back to the slide deck, and I apologize, Erika, but okay. Let me just tell you what it is rather than embarrass myself any further. Ping is a little symbol that sits on your website, and it allows people to, rather than, you know, you have chatbots, you know what a chatbot is, of course, but rather than have a chatbot, you could ping me. So somehow or other, it disappeared. But it's just a little blue dot, and it says ping on it, and you click on it, and you put in, hey, I'm interested in something, you know, coaching or pet sitting or whatever. And it immediately, from my website, it will ping me, and it will come up as a text on my phone, and I can instantly respond by text.
Okay. So
I'm a sole practitioner, and it really has helped me until today. And I'm sorry again about that. So I wonder if that would be something that would help your clients to put something like that. It's not a chatbot, because people really don't have time to engage in a lot of stuff. But, you know, texting is something that's probably the minimum interruption that you could have. That might be something that would be useful to add.
Yeah, so we have some clients who have like Messenger, Facebook Messenger embedded. Some we have like a little pop-up that will that's a clickable phone number or a clickable email address. So I mean, we make sure like everything's super easy. So any phone numbers, email addresses, they can just click on it and it will allow you to connect. Could be a form. So there's lots of different options. A lot of them use a software too. So we have similar stuff to Ping, but not Ping.
Yeah, I'll introduce you to these. They're tech guys out of Kitchener-Waterloo. They're really smart people.
Sure.
And I'm sure it's not their screw up, it's mine. All right, so keep going. How do you stay on top of trends and keep your websites performing even during this COVID epidemic?
Yeah, so COVID was interesting because it's obviously something none of us have ever dealt with before. My clients got hit really hard. So like some of them lost like 90% overnight. Dog walkers and pet sitters, most of them are in the US. So we needed to quickly figure out what we can do to help them. So we started looking into it, doing research, seeing what other people were doing, and came up with ideas on what they can do in the meantime to either ways to pivot, ways to find new clients, maybe new marketing, and what else they can do during the time. So we gave them ideas to focus their marketing instead of towards maybe commuters. You want to focus on people who are working from home. They have meetings, a dog's barking in the background, dog walker can come take it for a walk. So just really kind of figuring out what are the new problems that their clients are having and how can they help. And then the other thing we did is we offered free COVID-19 page layouts. So, I mean, some people in the States, they don't believe in it, they didn't want it, but other people, they just filled out the form, we put the COVID-19 precautions out there. They're going to people's homes, so to protect both sides, a lot of them like that, and we offered to do that page for free. So anything that we could do to help, we did offer some extras to our clients just to kind of help them during this time. And then we recommended them that this is a good time for them to update their website, for them to review their content, maybe get some new photos, anything that they could do now that they're not necessarily pet sitting. So we saw a surge of new websites, which was interesting. People with old websites figured, okay, now I have time to work on my website to get a new one and get ready for when the new normal starts. So some of them are back to a higher percentage now. Some of them are still hurting, but we've helped them through it, and we just kind of keep staying on top of it, helping them generate leads the best they can. So, I mean, some dog trainers have been insane. They've been getting a ton of traffic. So having dog walkers get training certification and stuff like that is helpful as well, just to help them build their skill set, because now everybody's home with their dogs and they're not as behaved, how they're noticing. So some of the biggest issues we've had was at the beginning, I didn't know what I was doing. So we chose some wrong partners. We had a server company that was just saying how great they were. The guy's wife was a dog walker, and we're like, oh, this is perfect. And they were actually a really bad server. So everything was really slow. I didn't realize how slow it was until I switched to a bigger company. So once we switched our hosting, everything sped up, and they have great support. So it's really nice. Building your processes and communication. So that was something that I've learned along the way. Just kind of jumped in and helped clients as I went. But now building those processes and those it's like a task list for new websites and stuff like that. So that's something that we do still continue to work on. But I mean, that's something that I wish I did at the beginning. Now it's trying to remember everything that's in my brain, and sometimes that can be difficult. And then another thing that we did was undervaluing services and pricing. So again, I am newer to this type of thing, especially because I was building this company on my own. So I definitely didn't charge enough at the beginning, and I learned pretty quickly that it takes a lot longer than the money I was charging. So I was probably working for minimum wage for a little bit, but I adjusted that and put in more kind of strict
that is very common, Erika. Don't beat yourself up over that. You know, a lot of entrepreneurs over the years have come to me and said, look, my competition charges $20, but I can do it for $5. And I'll say to them, well, maybe you ought to charge $19. You could be less, but why not $1 less? Oh no, I can do it for $5. No, why don't you be $1 less? So that's a very good lesson. The other thing I think I would like to underline is that you know, what Erika said is, you know, you fire the rocket ship, and as you're going into outer space, you're leaning out of the cockpit and you're sort of, you know, fastening you know, the rivets or whatever. I mean, you know, that's how entrepreneurs are. Basically, I think it would be fair to say, Erika, that the people who taught you the most about marketing.co were your clients.
Yep, it's true. We'll figure out what they need. I mean, new industry, so I was just kind of winging it at the beginning. So figure out what they need, and then I would adjust the packages and everything accordingly. So
a couple of questions have come up. One from Peter. How many staff and or team members do you have?
So not that many. So I mean, so I'm right now doing most of the work. I have my husband helping with some other stuff, and then I have a few other very part-time client or very part-time staff that help with some of the blog writing. So we do some blog writing as well. And then help with scheduling and some of the more admin tasks. So we're getting to the point now where we're going to have to hire. So we're kind of working on making sure everything's organized and all the processes are all set before we pull someone else in, because it's a little.
And what will the first, full-time hire, what will he or she be doing?
Probably doing website design and the tickets. So we get a lot of tickets for updates, posting blogs, making changes and that kind of stuff. So it's just time-consuming tasks. And then that way that gives me more time to go to maybe do speaking events or doing webinars and seminars, and we'd like to kind of get into a membership. So just doing the grunt work, I guess you'd call it. But I mean, some of it's still really creative, because you have to, if they want something, you might have to build it or figure out what layout works best, make sure that the content is set up properly and all that.
Here's another question from Greg. Do you have tips for staying on top of trends in the look and feel of websites for someone in a different field? And I'm going to add a second part to that question, Greg, and that is, Erika, obviously, in addition to being a marketer, you're a coder, right?
No, I'm not. I am a web designer, not a web developer. So with that, I'm more, when I build websites, it's more of like the marketing than the coding. But for that, there's a lot of open source software. I use WordPress. There's a lot of tools out there that you can white label and that kind of stuff. So I use other people's.
Yeah, so this is very important to realize that although Erika has constructed and built a successful six-figure, and I hope one day to be a seven-figure or even an eight-figure business, she was not a coder. She was not a developer. She's obviously a marketing whiz, but not that. And now, to Greg's question, do you have tips for staying on top of trends?
Yeah, so find Facebook groups that are related to your industry. So for example, I have a Facebook group for pet business owners. If you're in the trades, there might be one for trades marketing or trades websites and that kind of stuff, or real estate, or it could be health related, anything. There's so many Facebook groups out there and just a lot of advice. So I would look for your niche and find where people are dishing out advice to stay on top of it. So that's probably the best way to stay on top of it. We do have another sister company that we're building. We have done quite a few non-pet business websites. So we are basically bringing that process over for skilled trades and professional services like lawyers, accountants. Anything that is a skilled trade service or a professional service. So there's True Trade Solutions. So again, the way that started was people started saying, do you do non-pet business websites? And when I had enough people ask me about that, and we're like, well, it's pretty much the same, except you need a few different pages. You might need a before and after page if you're doing landscaping compared to pet sitting. But for the most part, the bulk structure of it is very similar, the same type of clients, whether you're a dog walking service or a pet sitting service, or you're building somebody's front lawn or cutting somebody's grass. It's pretty similar other than the actual product. And then we're looking into expanding into more of an agency once we get growing. So we'll start getting into we are doing some content marketing now, like Google My Business. We can do some social media ads. For that kind of stuff, I would need to hire, but it's something that we can do as we grow our networking. And then we are looking at building out a membership. So a content membership where people can join, and then they would get monthly content that they can use for their social media and customize it.
So one of the things that I really like about this model is the adding of the agency function. That probably will be the most profitable part of your business. Mm-hmm. I coach other people in this space, not in the pet space, but in this kind of work. And, if somebody's spending, $1,000 a month or $500 a month, or for that matter, $10,000 a month in marketing, often, you know, Facebook ads, Google ads, whatever it might be, often they're spending it rather foolishly. You know, I would never, Erica, I would never, ever go and launch my own Facebook campaign or even my own Google AdWords campaign. I have people, you know, who know so much more about that than I do. So
Yeah.
some of that money goes to them for their time and energy and creativity and thought. And some of it, of course, just goes to buy ads. And that really has paid big dividends for me in my coaching practice, which I started 7 years ago with no clients whatsoever, you know. So that really helped me, but I had to go to people who really knew how to spend money wisely. And that agency function, I think, would be a huge bonus as part of marketing.co.
Yep.
Another question came up from Greg. Did you develop your own platform, or are you using one provided by a hosting service? And I think you answered that question in a way when you talked about WordPress, but I'll let you answer it.
Yeah, so I mean, everything that we've used, we own. So I do not like using a Wix, a Squarespace, or a Weebly for the fact that you don't own it. So if you build your website on Squarespace and Squarespace goes down, your website's gone. You're sorry, you're gonna have to build a new one. But with WordPress, it's all open source. So everything that we use is open source or licensed, so that we own it. So that means that if we build a client's website and marketing shuts down, they can literally just take their website, move it to a different hosting provider. So it's a lot more reliable in that sense. And then anything else that we buy. So I mean, we build the layouts for the website. So all of those are built and there are ours, but yeah, for the most part, we don't really have anything that isn't ours. So license, whether they're images, we have a license on them, all the layouts, anything like that. So a client owns their website, while they're on our host, and we use a lot of premium plugins. So to make sure that the website is the highest performing, we don't want to use any like the free ones that don't have all of the bells and whistles, but we use all of that. They get access to that. I mean, if you choose down the road to move your hosting from us, you can move your website. You would just lose access to the plugins and that kind of stuff. So it's a little more safe, I guess, than using one of the platforms that are an actual software company. Yeah, so right now there's no exit plan. It's still, our company's been around for almost 3 years now, so we're just growing it. And then we would like to maybe grow it into that agency type organization, and then branch out into other niches.
And I support that. I think I salute you for that. When people say that they're building a business to sell or to somehow be acquired, I guess, I'm not really keen on that idea. I always go back to the founder of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, and he was offered, I think you probably know the story, Eric, he was offered $2 million for Facebook, a few months after he started, and he said no. And then not very much longer, he was offered $10 million. And he was maybe 20 or 21. And then a year or two later, he was offered $2 billion for it. And I think at one point, in the early years of Facebook, he was offered like $10 billion, and he was like 24 or 25.
Yeah.
And he was asked, how could, I really have to salute him. How could you be offered, a couple of $1 million or $10 billion and not sell it? And he said, I get up every day and I ask myself, what could I be doing today that would impact on the planet, hopefully in a positive direction. And I couldn't think of anything other than working at Facebook. So it was easy for me to say no.
Right.
It wasn't just about the money. It was about building something that really helps people. And when you first told me about it a few years ago now, and you told me you were helping, dog walkers and others, pet sitters, make $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
That I thought was a great mission.
And like they're very low tech for the most part. A lot of them could be retirees or people that never worked in tech. They have no idea how to, like, some of them don't even know the basics of the internet, some of them. So being able to help them and like not have to worry about the stress and just take over that kind of little part of their business, it gives them the opportunity to put more effort into actually growing their business, and working on their business instead of in it. So that's kind of what we do. Bruce, you probably are aware of, I like to prove people wrong. My whole life, like I've had, I mean, everything in sports and work, dealing with sexism, that kind of stuff. I had a lot of that, and that kind of lights a fire under my ass, and I'll be like, yeah, watch me. And that's kind of how my personality is.
Yeah, for those of you who can't possibly know this, Erika went to Elmira on a college scholarship. She played hockey at a very high level, and she is close to a scratch golfer. Maybe she is a scratch golfer now, for all I know. And so she's a top level athlete, and she's obviously a brainiac as well. So she combines those things. And Erika, it's interesting that you brought up sexism. I think the discrimination against anybody, whether it's based on gender or race or color or creed or anything like that, is really holding the planet back, in my opinion. Erika, I divide the world into two kinds of people. Not based on race, gender, religion, color, anything like that. There are only, in my mind, there's only two kinds of people: those you can trust and those you can't.
Yeah. There's not a lot you can trust.
Well, I think if you meet 20 Canadians, I'll bet you 19 of them are good people. There's always one broader in a group, but in Canada, that's I think it's quite a small number. In some of the other countries I've lived in and worked in, it might be much higher than that. But I really do believe that, Erika. I'm quite optimistic that most of the people that you work with in Canada are trustable. That's been my experience anyway.
I haven't had many issues with people that aren't trustworthy. So
yeah, that's my experience.
I mean, I think the pet industry is pretty good too. If you're working with pets and stuff, they're most likely trustworthy.
Yeah, I mean, people who you can't hate somebody who loves dogs.
No. And then the other thing that we do is I'm always kind of looking for new ideas. So even especially when it's niche, if I see a really cool idea in a different industry, I might look into it and see, hey, how can I spin this for
we
pet
should
industry?
Just stop there for a minute. Again, I'm interrupting you, but I call that, Erika, combining this with that. It's one of the most important things that entrepreneurs do. It is one of the most important things we do. We see another industry doing something over here that has nothing whatsoever to do with the pet industry, but you go, oh my gosh, if we added this to that, it might be really interesting. And that is the modern business model now, is exactly what you put on the slide here, which is creating for your clients and for your clients' clients the opportunity to combine this with that, to solve new issues and new problems, to create more options. A modern economy is based on creating options. Back 10,000 years ago or 30,000 years ago, more more food, another goat or an antelope for you and your family, Erika, meant one less for me. More fish for you meant one less for me.
Right.
But today, our modern economy doesn't work that way. Many politicians still think that there's a fixed amount of ideas and a fixed amount of assets to go around. And so, we can't let Erika have another asset because I won't have it for me and my family. That is not, in my view, that is not a correct analysis of the modern economy. So what you just said is incredibly important, and I just wanted to underline that.
Yep. And then, so in order to have a successful business, you have to have the right people. It's huge. Team is really important. So, I mean, I do work with a lot of other industry professionals. So I have a virtual assistant that I work with, that I do a lot of work with. I have the coaches. I have an SEO consultant. So she's super high level or super in-depth SEO, while I do kind of the basic setup. She'll go right down deep on the websites, which not necessarily needed for the pet sitters because they're smaller websites, but We do work together a lot. She'll get a really, really deep audit, and we'll just help the client apply it. But the big thing, and I know I am a millennial, but I've had a lot of difficulty with finding millennials that have the same, I guess, grit that I do. So finding those that are self-motivated and that have complementary skills to myself. There's no point in hiring someone that you're gonna have to micromanage, because no one has time for that, right? So that my big thing is ethics and morals. It's all about, I just want to make sure that whoever I work with agrees that they do have the morals, they have the integrity. That's how I built my business, on just delivering and not trying to be shady or anything like that. So some competitors, I've heard horror stories about someone who's working with another web designer, and it's just, they promise one thing and then they can't deliver, and then when they actually deliver, it's late and it's horrible and that kind of stuff. So my big thing is, I just want to be known as the one that you can trust in the industry. So that's kind of the big thing. And then for clients, I've had a lot of experience with clients. The big thing is, I want clients who see me as for my value and my skills, and just step out of the way. Like, I don't want a client that's high maintenance, demanding, that's trying to micromanage me, because you're telling me what to do, but you don't even know, like, this isn't your skill. Like, you have no idea what to do for marketing. You don't know what to do for your website. So you telling me what you want isn't necessarily a good idea. So, I mean, there's no point in hiring a professional and blocking them. So I try to look for those. And when I have my initial calls, I kind of try to watch for those types of things. Someone who's trying to really be overbearing. But someone who calls and it's like, yeah, I just want you to do it. Like, you know what you're doing, just do it for me. Like, that's ideal. We have clients who send me a lot of stuff and I'll be like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. And they're like, oh, okay, no problem. Some that just really insist. So very important. Don't be afraid. One thing I learned, don't be afraid to say no to clients that don't fit. Not everyone's your client. So that's a huge thing. Like, at the beginning, I just wanted clients, and I'm sure everybody who started a business have taken on a client that was just a nightmare. But now I can kind of pick out red flags. And at that point, I just try to stray them away from working with us. And then, so if I was to redo it, the biggest thing would be to document everything. When I was starting again, something I missed. So when I started marketing, I was working with ProPet, which is a startup. So startup salaries. I was getting married. So trying to figure out, how are we going to pay for this wedding? How are we going to pay for a new house? So that's part of the reason why I started marketing, to make a little bit of extra side money. And that side money turned into a full-blown business. So that's kind of I wasn't really expecting that. So I didn't document well. Doing it again, I would better document everything and have like processes and steps so that I can send that to someone else to do, like the systems and everything. And then initial pricing, so not undervaluing myself. And I mean, that's really tough when you're new, but it shows if something's really inexpensive, it also gives off that feeling that maybe it's not good. So
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'll just tell a funny story. One of my clients has a huge hotel downtown in a major metropolitan area. And in one of the recessions that bedeviled Canada in the 90s, he kept on reducing the price of his hotel rooms because people weren't traveling. This was not a pandemic related thing, it was a recession related thing. And he kept on reducing the price and reducing the price. And instead of occupancy going up, Erika, it kept on going down. And his daughter finally called me, and she was fed up with her old man. And she said, can we hire you as a consultant? And I did. And it didn't take me very long to figure it out. Just simply, we just simply contacted many of their former clients. So these were clients who used to go to the hotel, and we're trying to find, these were tech companies in the United States, for example, who were sending their people to this particular city. And And we asked them, why aren't you booking there? Oh, well, we don't trust it. What do you mean you don't trust it? Well, you know, the prices are so low. In the United States, when you have hotels and motels which are priced really low, it's dangerous to put your workers there. It's dangerous to put your employees there. Maybe it's a crack motel, you know, where people are, you know, dealing drugs. The low price was such a flagrant signal, especially in the United States, to potential guests that this was a flea-bitten, dangerous place to stay, that they stayed away in droves. And when he finally was persuaded, but in part by me, but I think mostly by his daughter, to raise the prices, his business went up, not down.
Yep. It's all like how you perceive things. So interesting.
Okay, so we're just about at the end here. We're at slide 16 of 16. It was a great presentation. Just about an hour long with a little bit of an outage at the beginning, Erika. Are there any other questions? Oh, we got a clap from Chris. You got a nice clap. I got to figure out how to do that, Chris. How to do a clap, but I can do it this way. So it was wonderful, wonderful that you took the time, and I'm sure everybody on the call will be watching it. We were thinking of you during the pivot class when you lost your mom, and you know, we really, really appreciate you coming back a month after the course finished and doing this bonus lecture for us. The last question, it comes from Peter. Rick saying, great job, insightful, thank you. But Peter had another question. Are there, you know, I think you did mention that there were some other niche markets that you're going into. And one of them, I think, Erika, correct me if I'm wrong, but for Peter, one of them, I think, Peter, was the fact that many people who are in the, you know, the repairman business, you know, the handyman business, or the handy person, I guess now, business, you know, they have terrible websites too. And many of them don't have a website. And, you know, they like to hammer and saw and fix plumbing, fix electrical, put drywall on, you know, put foundations in, repair foundations, whatever. But they don't really like to sit in front of a computer. I think that's one of the niches, Erika, that you're going to go after.
Yeah, so skilled trades is one of them. I did it actually kind of like a little test. My brother, he owns a company that does painting, house painting, and small engine repair. So that was one of the little tests that I did. I built a website for him for painting. I don't remember how long ago that was, but now he's starting to get leads from Google. So we focused on Google My Business. We focused on his website, just the keywords. So he's more focused on Manatic, which is a good area because there's money there. So he doesn't have to worry about people necessarily going for the cheapest option. They live in these multi-million-dollar mansions. They want it done properly. So he's really good. He's really good at cutting without like tape. So I mean, for the most part, he's getting a lot of word of mouth, but we built his website and now he's ranking, if you look for painting in Manatic, in Greeley and Barhaven, and now he's starting to get the organic search. So that was kind of a test. And again, it'll be the same thing for like skilled trades. So I have like chiropractor, lawyer, like even those kind of professional services as well. So it's a little bit larger, but we are working on that. And then, so for him, we have that. And yeah, I'm not sure what I was going to say.
That's fantastic. So, no, that's good. So we're talking about, you know, the trades, and we're also talking about professionals, you know, a fantastic, great presentation. The last question that we're going to break for the day, the last question comes from Paula, and that is, she says, excellent presentation. Good on you for standing up to sexism. You make it better for all of us. But I would be interested, without naming any names, please, but I'd be interested, you know, of how sexism has affected you, if you don't mind sharing that with us, and how you stood up to it. If you could give us an example of something that happened.
Yep. So growing up, I've always been playing sports, and with that, especially golf and hockey, there's a lot of boys. So kind of got some grit there. I have a younger brother too. So an example, when I used to work at High's Steakhouse, a lot of people came in there, and there was a golf tournament, and well, they didn't want a girl on their team, so they figured they wouldn't put me on their team. And then, so anyways, I ended up on a different team. We went out, we won, and I won like longest drive and all of this. And then he was this CEO of Raleigh, Canada, the guy. And at the end, he came up and apologized and bought me like a really expensive bottle of wine. I've had like going to networking and stuff like that. Guys just, especially when I was younger, when I was in my early 20s, it's like, who are you? You don't know anything. Once I started talking about hockey and golf, all of a sudden I would get respect. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I almost did on purpose just to try to get that respect. I've had issues with trying to work when I was working at the golf course, trying to help with marketing. I would just get kind of passed off. I don't know if it was a sexism or that was more ageism at the time because I was younger, but like I was very lucky though to have people like Bruce and Andy who actually like respected me and gave me chances, because I mean a lot of men would never do that. So that was awesome and very appreciated. I've had issues with just guys in general who would just treat you like, I don't even know, like they wouldn't treat you like they'd treat you like you were lesser. And then there was one time when I said, you know what, you listen to me. I'm like, you cannot treat me like this and you're going to have to stop. And like some other choice words are in there, but I think I scared them when I did that because they weren't expecting it. But it's just like so sick of like not getting the respect just because it makes them feel like lesser. It's almost what it was like. So yeah,
so I'm super, super proud of you, Eric, in every way. You know, you're a wonderful entrepreneur and you shared this story with us. I don't know what to say. Just thank you again to you, Erika. I'm expecting even bigger things. You know, persistence pays off. You've known that since you were a little girl. You know, it's not just for the women on the call and the women who will watch this, but for all of us, you're an inspiration. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
And this is now the official end of Pivot. Awesome job, Erika. Awesome job.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.